66 million years ago, silence fell upon the Earth. The Age of Giants was over. The asteroid that struck near the Yucatan Peninsula vaporized forests, poisoned the oceans, and darkened the skies. For months, sunlight vanished behind the choking dust. Global temperatures plunged, photosynthesis stopped, food chains collapsed, and 75% of all species vanished. But in the ashes of this apocalypse, life refused to die. Among the fallen dinosaurs, tiny creatures crept out of the shadows. Small, warm-blooded survivors who had waited in burrows and tunnels for the darkness to fade. They were mammals. And though they were small, they carried inside them the spark of a new age. From nearly 100,000 years after the asteroid, Earth remained unstable. But gradually, nature began to heal. Ash and dust settled. Sunlight returned. New plants, ferns, then palms, and finally forests, reclaimed the land. And as vegetation grew, so did hope. In this reborn world, the old rulers, the dinosaurs, were gone. The world was open for anyone strong, clever, and lucky enough to adapt. The earliest post-extinction mammals were tiny, most no bigger than a rat. They had survived not by strength, but by strategy. While dinosaurs ruled the surface, mammals had lived hidden lives in burrows, active at night, and feeding on insects, seeds, and roots. This low-profile existence saved them. They didn't need sunlight-dependent food chains. They could eat almost anything, and their warm-blooded metabolism kept them active even in the post-impact chill. Some of the earliest were creatures like Purgatorius, a small, tree-dwelling insectivore, perhaps the ancestor of all primates. Others, like Eomaia, were early placental mammals, carrying their young inside their bodies, a massive evolutionary advantage over egg-laying species. When the giant reptiles disappeared, they left behind empty ecological roles. For millions of years, nature had no top predators, no large herbivores, no flying giants. Mammals evolved rapidly to fill those spaces. Some became diggers, like early moles. Some turned into swift runners. Some returned to the trees, and even to the seas. This was the Paleocene epoch, Earth's great rebuilding phase, between 66 to 56 million years ago. And it was during this quiet age that the first major mammalian groups appeared. Ungulates, ancestors of horses, deer, and elephants. Carnivorans, ancestors of cats and dogs. Primates, ancestors of humans. In a sense, the asteroid didn't just destroy, it reshuffled evolution. Around 56 million years ago, Earth's climate transformed again, the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. Volcanic activity and methane release warmed the planet dramatically. Rainforests stretched from the equator to the poles. Crocodiles swam in what is now the Arctic Circle. And in this lush, hot, and oxygen-rich world, mammals exploded in diversity. Tiny forest primates like Tailhardina leapt through the canopy. Early horses like Eohippus trotted across warm plains. And whales' ancestors like Pachycetus dipped their toes in shallow seas, the first step back toward the ocean. As mammals diversified, one feature gave them a lasting advantage: the neocortex. This part of the brain handled complex behaviors, learning, memory, social interaction, problem solving. While reptiles depended on instinct, mammals could adapt. They nurtured their young, formed family groups, and learned from experience.
And in the long run, intelligence, not size, became the ultimate survival tool.
By 50 million years ago, mammals had conquered every environment. On land, early elephants, horses, and predators roamed free. In the skies, bats took flight. In the seas, whales began their journey to mastery of the oceans. The age of mammals, the Cenozoic era, had truly begun. But somewhere in the dense tropical forest, small primates with forward-facing eyes and grasping hands were learning to leap, communicate, and think. They were our ancestors, and their story, the story of how we came to be, was only just beginning.
The fall of the dinosaurs was not the end of life. It was the reset button of evolution. From the ashes of extinction came the dawn of intelligence, and from tiny, trembling survivors emerged the future rulers of the planet, the mammals. This was the second beginning.